Yes, we are here. We're here, and we have already connected in Shiva, the divine being, the extraordinary large higher self, to that aspect of source, into the vehicle, who were already starting to have conversations. The vehicle was very curious about certain things, such as the significant role that a snake has played on humanity, and Shiva was conversing and saying the following, but we will allow Shiva's energy now to be fully brought into the vehicle to explain this themselves. Yes. Yes, my teachings for humanity were always to remind you of past, present, and now, and also to be able to remind you of all aspects of things, the past, current events occurring now, and the future events that you will be perceiving, you will be experiencing in your future, in quotation marks, time. There was many elements that I always wanted humanity to remind themselves of, and it was never about self-focusing on just one humanitarian collective, or just humans, or just man. I wanted to be able to bring in reminders of the earth, of the elements, of the animal kingdom, to be able to remind you all that you're very much significant and important in each of the roles that you play, but you shall not dominate over each other, because then you will lose balance and harmony. And the example is so perfect about the questions of the snakes. This has been used so many times in your certain Western civilizations, in terms of your religions, demonizing the snake as being evil because it was the one that coerced man into taking the bite of the apple in the Garden of Eden. And we want to say it was not the snake's fault that the man chose us otherwise. And even if the fable of Adam and Eve was true, which it is not, of course, it must have been written that it was something else that made the downfall of man. How could it possibly be man's fault? How could it possibly be? And we say that everybody has choices, and everyone has choices. And whether it's in your nature to be a snake, or whether it's in your nature to be a human, you all still have to work with your moral compasses and know your place and significance and roles in this world, and honor yourselves and respect all, and respect your placement in this world. You are not a single isolated being here. Everything you do matters, not just if you recycle or not recycle, or whether you have a healthy, mindful perspective of life. Everything you do. I have heard this vehicle say that spirituality is not a hobby, and that is absolutely true. It must be a full, complete, utter way of life. And so while you are thinking about recycling the planet and being a hero because you are doing things that you perceive as saving the planet, why don't you connect in with Gaia herself and ask her if she wants to be saved? Because otherwise it is a very egoic approach to think that by you recycling plastics that you constantly are buying, that this would save her in some way. Look at the bigger scope of things. We're not saying to litter, and I'm not saying for you to not recycle if that is what you choose to do, because often it can be a great reuse of resources. But look how far you've come. Recycling is not going to save the soul of this planet, and you know that. but you still do it because you feel like it makes a difference, that it matters. So you do certain things like recycling, but yet what truly matters is your perception and your awareness of all of these things. Knowing that everything you do, everything you think has a greater component to the totality of who you are and what you are. And when you're all connected and you're all responsible to be a responsible being who knows their place in this world, who doesn't place false limitations on themselves and does not inflate egos to be of self-importance when their insecurities are merely just beneath the surface that are not being paid attention to. Religions have confused many people and distracted many, and this is why we say that our religion, our belief systems, our way of life is probably one of still the most purest when you remember the integrity to honor all aspects. And this is why there are so many deities that we want to be honored, because when you remember there is more than just one man or one God or one Jesus or whomever you think is running this show, when you recall that there is so much souls who have been on this planet and who are also supporting this planet from this higher perspective, you will realize that this is all so much more than your own personal self-evolution. We are not wanting to make you feel small or insignificant, because as we have already said, everyone is a working piece to this greater wheel. And since you are all connected, it is much better to be in harmony and balance. Otherwise, your small piece of the wheel is disbalanced and has wobbles sometimes, as you all do. And sometimes we want to say you all get so disimbalanced and so out of harmony that you wobble at the same rate, which then ironically balances more so than not, which is interesting. And so everything is significant, everything is purposeful. And while there is many guardians here overseeing this planet, I am not one of them now, but I did love to come and support your planet and all of those who are connected to me with my soul families, who understood the significance of respecting all aspects of this life and all of the lives you have lived, understanding and respecting the reincarnation cycle and the natural cycles of evolution and the natural cycles of a life is very significant. And it makes you more be in the present moment to appreciate every surrounding experience, knowing that all cycles do still have a completion. There is still a tail and there is still a head to a snake. But as you know, the snake can eat the tail and make a unit that way. You're still one, you're still connected. Birth and death is still the same in terms of moving from one dimension to another, moving in and out of one physical body to another, to a light body to another, to just being a soul aspect. There are so much opportunities and choices that you get to choose. But when you have signed into life contracts and you are in the amongst of a life cycle, you must honor all of the steps and experiences. Those lives do not last long, even though you perceive them to be dragging out. Your concept of time is merely an illusion which can distract you. and make you obsessed? And how can it distract you? You look at your clock, you look at your calendars, but you don't look outside to notice the change of seasons, the change of hour. You're so busy. You're so busy being distracted that you have slowed yourselves down in the evolution state. And isn't that funny? You're trying to be as smart and clever and efficient, and yet you've completely gone in the opposite direction of your evolution. You were supposed to be able to focus on reaching back and connecting back to source and having a small 3D experience, being separated from source, having the illusion that you are alone, discovering yourself amongst your friends and family, and empowering yourself independently in a physical body, having physical lives here on this planet. It's marvelous when we are watching you, forgetting completely who you are. And we do watch with much entertainment, and we say that with love, as we are watching some very profound big soul essences bumbling through life, losing faith and hope. Must sound terrible of us to watch with amusement some big soul essences being completely lost. But we know when they come out of their fog, come away from the veil of forgetfulness, they even laugh at themselves and think, golly, jolly good show. Gosh, that really had me going that time. Boy, did I feel so separated. Boy, did I feel so lost. Boy, did I feel so scared. Boy, was I so afraid. Boy, I was stuck in fear. Boy, I really did constantly make choices to not feel loved. Boy, I constantly made choices to disempower myself. Oh, I disempowered others. Oh, I held back love from others. Oh, I held back love from self. And this is very peculiar, but also very amazing and astonishing that we would do this to ourselves, because that is absolutely not our normal state of well-being, because we love ourselves. We love marinating ourselves in high frequency love and energy. It feels electric and uplifting and profound. This is why it was so curious and alluring to have these 3D experiences, to see, would we be able to remember? Where would our moral compass go? What on goodness gracious would our life experiences force us and push us and drag us to go and be? And it is like signing up to go to an amusement park. We know we're only going for the day. We've bought a day trip ticket and we've gone with some friends. We haven't even packed any lunches with us. We're going to buy within the trip. We're excited. We don't know what we're going to see and what we're going to do. And so the very first thing that we experience on this amusement ride of Earth is to go into one of those stores which you can choose any costumes you want from any time period. And we all put on these funny costumes called bodies. And we all get to choose what genre we want. And then we all pose for photos and think this is funny memories. This, of course, is an analogy of how you come into Earth, come into this playground. You don't know what you're getting, but you make a lot of great choices, or interesting choices, or funny choices, or silly choices, to be able to laugh at the end of the day when you have fond memories as you share with your soul families and friends what your choices were on earth. And that is just as simple as what your earth experiences are. It's merely a day in your soul's experience, each lifetime that you have on earth. But we do not hold time as you do. But we're trying to remind you of the significances of your experiences on earth. We know you have forgotten who you are, and that was on purpose. We also know that you've gone down to that planet to be able to be of service. Sometimes you've gone down to earth, you've entered into that amusement park for fun and explorations and challenges and lessons because your soul was questioning certain situations that it couldn't understand. How, on goodness gracious, how could a soul get in that predicament of wanting to brutally murder someone? How could they be pushed and driven to that point? And what would it feel like to be so attacked, so brutalized? And while some of you are listening and shivering in the thought of, oh my goodness, I hope I haven't got that for my life contract, we want to say for most people who have had that as a life contract, they really were so curious to feel and want to experience it at all. It didn't seem like a mistake or an error. This was well planned. They wanted to experience that because they were so curious what that could even feel like. And it's not about the pain, but it's about the journey to get to that point, to either be murdered or to be murdered, to either be a murderer or to be murdered. This is making the vehicle feel uncomfortable because we can easily explain why people have chosen to be murdered. From a 3D aspect, you're so attached to the bodies, and your moral compasses are trying to guide you into respecting others and caring for others. And while that is often the choices of life contracts, many beings have still wanted to have those experiences for those lessons, to understand. This vehicle is confused. She is coming back into the conversation because she's asking us, isn't this part of the problem for humanity, that there has been murder in the first place? From our perspective, the death process is very curious because we do not have death as you perceive it. It's an evolutionary advancement where you just simply evolve and evolve and evolve up until you return back to source. But when you're in a physical body, you have fun things and interesting things and challenging things to experience with the physical body. And part of that grand experience is the death scene. Some of us love the challenges of it, which sounds very morbid. But we want to say from this perspective, all is well. You would not want to miss the final scenes of any lifetimes. That is part of the fascination of these physical bodies. How you dump them at the end is significant. And so part of the reason why we wanted to come in here today, the vehicle was saying she didn't know what to respond to us with and what pronouns to say because she kept wanting to flip between he and she and they. And so we say that we like to still have our dualities of different personalities. While we have had many different lifetimes as the soul, And Shiva is one aspect of the lifetime of what the higher self has experienced. This was the best reference point for the vehicle who shared this message to her. So we wanted to come in because, as you could imagine, we have had many lifetimes, many life cycles, and it was purposeful for us to experience them all, so then we could assist in all. You must be able to learn and grow to be able to become a good teacher and leader. And so when we were all curious and wanting to explore the best we could, we knew we must have been able to experience it ourselves. We have impacted and we have lived so many times in so many other lifetimes, not just on this planet, that we do have a profound connection to most. So this is why we are so uniquely connected in. It almost feels quite exotic for those people who are living in the Western world to reach out into our culture, because we seem that we have such unique flair and interpretations of religion and gods, and respecting all aspects on this planet makes so much common sense that most people who are trying to divorce themselves from religions will find their way to us, because it is the way that feeds the soul. Because once you can honor other souls, you can profoundly honor self more. It's a very calming energy that we are giving to this planet now, because we are wishing to give all the profound sense that all is well, because all is well. We want to say, from your perspective, that just because you may have the assumption of people being brutalized in their death scenes doesn't mean that there wasn't a profound significance and purpose. Everything is an opportunity for experiences and growth, and you have heard this many times, because it is the universal truth. You may judge certain things, but even you must admit, when you judge certain things, you still know that there are lessons and purposes and significances and importances from those experiences, regardless of whether you like them or not. There is still lessons to learn and experience. This is what helps your consciousnesses expand, and collectively you're expanding still, and you always will expand because you're constantly having new experiences. We have pushed your boundaries and your tolerances into new experiences. Every time we have triggered you, it is to make you connect in with others more profoundly and to connect in with self. We saw that you needed more assistance with this because you were starting to isolate yourselves at a very superficial level, and even those who were very social but were still at a very superficial level. There was much lacking in deeper thought and communication. We needed to get your attention more. And there's nothing more scandalous that encourages chatter than some gossip or something that was so blatantly obvious that there is another agenda. It will push people to have confidence to speak up, because it's not talking about senses or spirituality, it's talking about evidence and facts. And we had to show inconsistencies with influences regarding evidences and facts. The bigger message that we wanted to share with you today, which was already disclosed by the vehicle, was having profound relaxation in the body and profound relaxation in the mind, even on the most stormiest days, even in the most gossipy days, even in the days where there is most disclosures. You can have a choice to react, or you can have a choice to have neutrality and to just process what's going on. If your ego triggers yourself into thinking you must fix this or protect this, or this is wrong, or go into judgment or fear, that is when you're going to lose your disbalance. That is going to be when you lose your balance and be in disharmony with your mind, with your body. You will notice as soon as you start overthinking and panicking in your mind, your body will start responding. If you find that your mind is starting to be triggered and tripped, focus on the natural breath of the body and release all tension in the body. Your mind will try to control everything, will try to trip your emotions into fear or panic, and it will try to make your body go with you, which will then get your endorphins and adrenaline systems going. And you may find it harder to not, you will make it, once your adrenaline systems are activated, you will find it harder to calm the mind, because then you're very invigorated, because you feel like you have to have a flight response to have a reaction. And we are saying we would like for you to be able to focus and notice your breath, and focus and notice on your muscles and the tension you are holding in your body. And this is why we would like you to be in a comfortable position when you re-listen to this message, and to find if there is any tensions anywhere in the body, that you will release the tensions, because you are holding on to the tensions. If you have chosen to hold on to certain tensions for a long period of time, your muscles will get so stiff. They will get so used to having the tension that it is almost doing it automatically. Ask your body to release the tensions you have been putting strain on. And every time you go to sleep and every time you sit down, please notice and ask your body to release and relax now. Ask your mind to release and relax now. And notice from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes if you have complied to your wishes to be relaxed, to be able to go with the flow. You cannot control anything outside of the body. You can only focus on what is within. You can only focus on what is your body, your mind, your breath, and the senses that will follow when you are in ultimate balance and harmony. We would like you to practice feeling this profound inner peace and this profound balance. And when you are, in this profound sense of balance and harmony, imagine a wind coming. Will it push you, or will you just not resist and allow the wind to pass through you? You cannot stop the wind. You can notice the wind. Do not let it aggravate you. Do not focus on the temperature of the skin as the wind is flowing through you. Notice the warmth of the breath. And as you allow the wind to pass through, it will go because you're not fighting it. You're not resisting it. And it will just move past and through and beyond. You're not focusing on it. You're not manifesting more. You're allowing it to be in your awareness and leave your awareness. We say the same thing with rain. If you imagine you are out in this beautiful balance and peacefulness, and you were sitting out or laying outside on the ground, and it started to rain, and you could feel the droplets all over your body. You get to choose to focus on whether it is warm or cold. You could have a problem with it. You could be outraged that you're getting wet. Or you could see the bigger perspective that it is just small droplets of rain. It is not going to harm you. It doesn't have to bother you if you choose for it to not bother you. So, will you have acceptance that you've got slightly wet? Or will this bother you and ruin your day, ruin your clothes? When in true perspective, your clothes get wet every time you wash them. You get wet every time you wash you. So is it because it's been raining and you did not choose for it to rain that you're bothered, that you've lost the control and something is happening to you that you have not allowed? Can you allow things to happen to you, trusting that you can choose to be annoyed or you can choose to have full acceptance? What do you choose? Inner peace to not let things bother you? Or are you going to be hyper-focused and fixated and frustrated and by an umbrella? Where does your moral compass go? Where does your inner peace go? When you see that it is raining, do you get angry because it's going to impact you? Or do you see that this is a blissful thing to cleanse and feed and heal the earth? To feed the earth, to feed the plants, to feed the animals, to feed the insects, to cleanse. How are you perceiving such things as the rain? How are you perceiving such things as the wind? How are you perceiving other people's actions and choices and words? Do you allow them to just flow through you? Or do you want to guard and be frustrated, control? What are your choices? What are your perceptions? You could hear something that doesn't resonate with you and let it flow through you. Or you could be so outraged that disinformation is once again being delivered onto the ears of humanity that you lose focus and inner peace. Have you realized that you are fighting for things that happen to you and happen around you? Have you been fighting against these things, making yourself even more challenged to go with the flow, to accept all experiences, to not hold on to them emotionally and energetically, to honor and respect those that uplift you, and to release and do not resist and do not hold on to things that don't serve you? Learning and growing from all experiences is our preferred choice for you. But even if you take the most hardest path, it is still your journey, it is still your lessons, and it's still your growth. Choose wisely, because even if you don't make conscious choices, energetically you are. Notice what you're exposing yourself to. Notice that you could always go inside if it's raining. Notice you could always put on a coat or do something else if it's windy. You always have options. Always. Can you see if you have added any new tensions into the body? And why do you think you have done that? Constantly check in with your body. Sometimes you control your bodies too much. You tighten muscles that don't need to be tightened. You put so much strain on the body. You put so much tension and emphasis on the body. You're wearing yourselves out. Focus. Focus on what you're doing to your mind. Focus what you're doing to the body. Honoring yourself. This way is always going to be more of a beneficial experience for you. Remember, you are responsible for your mind and you are responsible for your body. What choices are you making to empower yourself? You can only start this true level of empowerment today because you've only heard about this today. For some of you, this is new. For some of you, this is a reminder. Do not regret your choices from the past. Empower yourself and move forward. Do not let the past be your rain. Do not let your past be the wind that bothers you and distracts you and frustrates you. Allow the past to flow through you. If the past keeps coming up, you need to heal it, love it, and release it and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. The choice and all of the decisions for you to empower yourself are yours. And we say this with much love.